The journey of Red Dead Online didn't start in 2018. It was actually started in 2010 with the release of Red Dead Redemption 1. Today we're going to revisit the game that revolutionized the Western shooter genre, and then compare some of the biggest changes that has happened to this game over the last decade. To make the comparisons more clear and easier in the video, I'm going to refer to Red Dead Redemption 1 multiplayer released in 2010 as Red Dead 1, and refer to Red Dead Online released in 2018 as Red Dead 2. The comparisons and the discussions in this video will only refer to the online mode of these games. So right off the bat, you're going to notice that the characters are not customizable, and you do not get to create your own character like in Red Dead 2. You had access to dozens of predefined in-game characters that you could choose and swap at any time, without having to pay anything. During this gameplay, you will see me play mostly as John Marston. In Red Dead 1, you have to grind your way to level 50 in order to unlock everything, like all the horses, guns, and playable characters. You also have the option to prestige your rank. In Red Dead 2, you can create your own character from the scratch, and in addition to having to grind XP, an in-game economy has been introduced, which also requires you to grind dollars and gold bars to access to different items. The max rank in Red Dead 2 is reportedly capped at 1000. This might change in the future, but currently the highest level in the game seems to be 1000, without any options to prestige. Something funny that you might remember between the online characters in Red Dead 1 and 2 is the fact that you could actually make them talk and antagonize other players by pressing circle or the B button when you didn't have a weapon drawn.
Somebody thinks they're the wolf in the pack, don't they?
In Red Dead 2, you can use a long list of emotes to interact with other players instead. Write me in the comments if you think talking was more fun than showing emotes when interacting with others. You also didn't have to worry about eating or maintaining your cores or weight. Next thing that you're going to notice is the game map. Red Dead's multiplayer map has gone through some big changes. In Red Dead 1, it only consists of West Elizabeth, which only goes as far north as Tall Trees, New Austin, and Nuevo Paraíso, also known as Mexico. New Austin and Mexico are connected through 3 different bridges and there are no walls. In Red Dead 2, Mexico has been somewhat removed from the map, and instead, West Elizabeth has been expanded into more areas like the Big Valley and the town of Strawberry. More states also have been added to the second game, such as Amberino, New Hanover, and Lemoyne. Most notable changes are in Blackwater, Tall Trees, Thieves Landing, McFarlane's Ranch, and Tumbleweed. Blackwater has a more modern look in the first Red Dead, since it's set years after the Red Dead 2 events, but you could not use any of the shops like in Red Dead 2. You could still see them from outside though. Thieves Landing looks a lot more busy and developed. McFarlane's Ranch also seemed to have received some expansions. Tall Trees was covered in snow. Tumbleweed was a gang hideout and was completely abandoned. In Red Dead 2, it's full of lawmen and it's a semi-working town, with a general store, a butcher, a saloon, and a gunsmith. You cannot go to Mexico without using in-game exploits in Red Dead 2, but once you manage to get there, you will notice a lot of details from the old game existing in it, such as roads, landmarks, and so on. My personal opinion about this is that Rockstar originally planned to add Mexico to Red Dead 2 as well, but it was later scrapped due to lack of time, and in order for them to focus on releasing the main game first. They might have thought that they could just add it later in a big DLC after the release, or maybe they just have added those details so you can see them from distance. What do you think? Now let's look at how the lobbies have changed over these years. I would say this part has received the biggest downgrade when comparing the two. In Red Dead 1, players had access to hardcore or free aim sessions. In Red Dead 2, free aim sessions are only available on the PC version as of April 2020. On console, free aim assisted showdowns are available once in a while through weekly updates. In Red Dead 1, we had access to friendly mode sessions as well, when you couldn't really be killed by others, but you could still be harassed by them. In Red Dead 2, this has been replaced with defensive mode. In defensive mode, you can still get killed and also kill other players if you don't attack them first. Lobbies used to be only maxed out at 16 players, but in Red Dead 2, this has been increased to 32 players. The game also pretty much uses the same dated P2P lobbies with huge privacy concerns and remains as a paradise for booters and lag switchers. And most importantly, we used to have online private and invite only sessions in Red Dead 1. That does not exist in Red Dead 2 as of April 2020. It might be added to the game at some point later though. The game's combat has changed massively over the years. In Red Dead 1, you could roll in order to avoid enemy lock-ons and dodge bullets, but in the second game, it has been replaced with diving. Initially at the release of Red Dead 2, in 2018, the combat felt much slower than Red Dead 1, but with the release of Frontier Pursuits update in 2019, we received a combat update in Red Dead 2 that increased all animation speeds in the online mode. We also have access to first person mode in Red Dead 2, which gives you a much faster movement speed. In Red Dead 1, only a third person mode was available. The only Deadeye in the game used to be what we now call as Painted Black. We activated this Deadeye and painted targets to deliver accurate and rapid shots to your opponents. In Red Dead 2, in addition to Painted Black, more Deadeyes and different ability cards have been added to the game. Some people are not happy with this change to the combat system, as it puts the lower level players in disadvantage. But some others actually like it, since it encourages different playstyles at the same time. Health and Deadeye tonics that refill your stats instantly are also a big part of combat in the second game, unlike in the first one, where you could only refill them using boxes on the ground and getting kills to refill your Deadeye meter. All guns also have received a massive overhaul between the two games. In Red Dead 1, you have to unlock different weapons by leveling up or picking up weapons from NPCs or weapon cases found in gang hideouts. In Red Dead 2, you have to grind and buy every single gun, but you can also customize and add a personal touch to them. Some of the great guns from the first game seem to be missing from the second one, such as the Buffalo Rifle and the high-powered pistol. There's a high chance that Rockstar is going to add all these weapons from Red Dead 1 to Red Dead 2 eventually in future updates. This idea gets more realistic when we look at the LeMat Revolver and the Evans Repeater, which were already existing in Red Dead 1, but they were only added to Red Dead 2 months after the game's release. Some repeaters also seem to have been renamed. For example, the Winchester Repeater has been renamed to Lancaster Repeater in Red Dead 2, and a Litchfield Repeater that we have in Red Dead 2 used to be called the Henry Repeater in the first game, possibly due to licensing issues. In the first Red Dead, we used to have an explosive rifle that would have pulverized anything on its way. In the second game, this has been replaced with explosive bullets for all types of guns, and dynamite arrows. The most annoying thing that has been changed in combat, in my opinion, is having to constantly clean our guns with gun oil in Red Dead 2. This just makes the combat annoying, as the guns start to have poor performance after firing 50 rounds or even much less. Having to restock on gun oil and getting an OCD to clean your guns after every 10th kill seems to have become annoying to some players, something that players didn't have to worry about in the first game. Red Dead 1 multiplayer's PvP modes are still seeing a surprising number of players in 2020. These playlists also seem to have received some downgrades. For example, the ability to skip a map or a game mode used to be a thing in Red Dead 1 by voting. This has not been added to Red Dead 2's Showdown playlists. Another feature that was really interesting to me was having duels at the beginning of every showdown. This was pretty intense and sick. I have no idea why it has not been added to the second game.
You. Concentrate. Fill your hand. A perfect win.
Some of the popular game modes from Red Dead 1 also didn't really make a comeback in Red Dead 2, such as Gold Rush. Another change in Freeroam is the minigames. In Red Dead 1, Liar's Dice and Poker were available to play in Freeroam after the Liars and Cheats DLC update. In Red Dead 2, as of April 2020, only Poker is available as a Freeroam minigame, and only in selected countries. Red Dead 2 Online actually has a story mode that you can play with other players in addition to the stranger missions found in Freeroam. In Red Dead 1, co-op missions were only available through the Outlaws to the End DLC pack after the game's launch. Fast traveling in the game remains the same, using the fast travel post around the map. The only difference is that we now have a better menu in the second one, which comes at a cost, since it is no longer free to fast travel, due to the massive economy differences in Red Dead 1 and 2. Hunting is considered one of the biggest parts of Red Dead 2, as it allows players to hunt and skin animals in order to sell them to the butcher or turn them into profit through the trader role at their camps. In Red Dead 1, although the animal spawns seemed to be astronomical, you were not able to turn them into profit. Instead, hunting grounds were available in the game. You could play these around the map and kill waves of different animals with your friends. Crafting mechanics and player camps also have been a big part of this evolution between the two games. In Red Dead 2, players are heavily encouraged to collect herbs and different kinds of items in order to craft recipes. Crafted items can give you a lot of advantage in combat, since you can craft level 3 health tonics and explosive ammunition. Player camps can be used to craft items, refill your cores, and make tons of cash using the trader role. I would say these are one of the bigger upgrades that have been added to Red Dead Online. The last spot that I want to talk about is the soundtrack. I personally prefer the soundtrack from Red Dead 1 a lot more, since it has a more authentic Western vibe to it. I also find it more intense during online combat.
I'll kill every last one of you!
In overall, Red Dead Online has received a lot of upgrades over the last 10 years, but some of the top requested features by the community, such as private lobbies, free aim sessions, or talking characters, were already existing in Red Dead 1. The question is, why have they decided to ignore these features in Red Dead 2? Rockstar has made a big shift in their approach and has been adding roles in Red Dead 2's free roam since the Frontier Pursuits update in 2019. The role-playing elements are really appreciated by the community at the moment, but the lack of frequent updates and bug fixes seem to have been putting a wall between Rockstar Games and the player base. How do you think Red Dead is going to evolve in the future? Let me know in the comments, as I'm very interested to know. Personally, it was a pleasure for me to return to the first game and revisit its qualities. If you haven't had the chance yet to play Red Dead 1, you can do so by downloading it on your Xbox through backwards compatibility, or subscribe to the PlayStation Now service. You can use PS Now even if you don't have a PlayStation. So just download the PS Now app on Windows and start streaming Red Dead Redemption 1 or the Undead Nightmare DLC. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully I've managed to revive some nostalgia for you. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like or even consider subscribing to the channel for future gaming content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.